On the agenda tonight, we're going back to the mid-60s. We're going to be taking a look at the Zombies and listening to She's Not There. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So we have looked at the Zombies on the channel before with this particular song, but it was a more recent live performance. So we're going all the way back to where it started, and I believe that this was a performance on TV that originally had the record overdubbed with crowd noise and all that kind of stuff, but this is just the original record over the top of the performance. But we'll get it up on screen and have a listen and then break it down. I have isolated the vocals so you'll be able to see that on the screen with the vocal line on the right hand side of the screen. Let's jump into it.
Well, no one told me about her, the way she lied. Well, no one told me about her, how many people cried. But it's too late to say you're sorry. How would I know? Why should I care? Please don't bother trying to find her. She's not there. Well, let me tell you about the way she looked, the way she had tan, the color of her hair. Her voice was soft and cool, her eyes were clear and bright, but she's not there.
I'm just going to jump in here. If you want to watch this the whole way through without me interrupting it, then there's a link in the description below as always. But this is great because, I mean, nowadays, I'm not sure you would get this song released in the form that it is, because a lot of songs are played to a click track. And with this particular song, we get such a contrast in tempo between the verse and the chorus. And I think this is just something that naturally happened when they performed this song in the studio because of the energy. And by the way, back in the 60s, a lot of the songs were performed in the studio as a band. So it wasn't a case of doing each instrument independently and going into the studio at different times. They just performed it. And that's the sense that you get from this record, but from all of the stuff back in, you know, the 60s and the 70s, you just got sounds of bands that you were listening to. And then when you went to see them live, of course, it sounded like the band because you've already heard them at home. So have a listen to this and listen out for this change in tempo. It is dramatic from the verse into the chorus.
To say you're sorry, how would I know? Why should I care? Please don't bother trying to find her. She's not there. Well, let me tell you about the way she looked, the way she had tan, the color of her hair. Her voice was soft and cool, her eyes were clear and bright, but she's not there.
And as soon as we end the chorus, we're then going to relax back into the verse when the vocal comes back in again. But hopefully you can hear that increase in excitement, because that's what, you know, increasing tempo does. It's a tiny detail that totally transforms the sound of the song and, more importantly, the chorus from the verse. So yeah, it's great. Let me just take it to where we got to.
Well, no one told me about her. What could I do? Well, no one told me about her, though they all knew. But it's too late to say you're sorry. How would I know? Why should I care? Please don't bother trying to find her. She's not there. Well, let me tell you about the way she looked, the way she had tan, the color of her hair. Her voice was soft and cool, her eyes were clear and bright, but she's not there. would I know? Why should I care?
Just a couple of things I'm going to get into, obviously addressing the technical ability on show here with the instrumental sections, but the other thing to listen out for before the chorus is the way that the dynamic changes vocally, because it turns into almost like a shout, and we are going to listen to the isolated vocal in a second as well, which will show even more clearly that difference dynamically that we have. But have a listen.
Please don't bother trying to find her, she's not there. Well, let me tell you about the way she looked, the way she acted, the color of her hair. Her voice was soft and cool, her eyes were clear and bright, but she's not there.
And there we have it. So, I mean, the other thing that we have is the bass line. I think with these kinds of songs, when you look back at songs from the 60s, a lot of them, I mean, are just great songs, but there are so many elements to the songs, like the bass line, and a lot of, you know, the huge hits had great bass lines, and that's no different here. As soon as we start up, that bass line is taking you all over the place. But anyway, just quickly to point out the bass, I mean, have a listen to this at the beginning, because it works so well. Because Chris White playing bass here is, yeah, jumping around, but more importantly, staying straight with it. And then with Rod Argent's keys that he's playing, the Hohner Pianette, he's jumping in with these, you know, accents, this bit of timing that is on the offbeat. So we're just going to listen from the beginning again, and we've already established that this bass is really straight at the beginning. We've got this dun 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 dun, you know, just lots of notes following each other. There's no real bounce in there. But when the pianette comes in, we're now on the offbeat. But have a listen. Yeah, so we've got, with the pianette, we've kind of got this feel. We've got kind of like that. And, I mean, the reason, I mean, it's in the right channel, so it stands out anyway, but the reason that it stands out rhythmically is because if I was playing that straight and we went 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2... Actually, I mean, we're coming in on 2, which kind of sets it apart from the bass anyway. But if we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You start to hear the difference, how now we're just plodding along rather than having that bounce and catching you when your foot's in the air on the offbeat. Same thing. Kind of like that. Even going back to the A, that's not something that's focused on at all when we're talking about the keys, because the bass is doing that. So it means that that first reference point, we've already got it. So you can have that. And there's no real need to have to pick that out yourself, or, you know, play it on the keys. So yeah, rhythmically it's really interesting from that perspective. But then as we start to get into that chorus, we speed up. I just want to spend a little bit of time here on the vocal. So I've taken down the instrumentation so that we can listen in a little bit more clearly to the isolated vocal.
Well, no one told me about her, the way she lied. Well, no one told me about her, how many people cried.
I mean, it's great because when it's isolated, you can hear it so much more clearly from a technique perspective to see exactly what's going on. And, I mean, looking at the pitch monitoring software, of course, this was in the mid-60s, so it's not manipulated in any way. And as we run through, you can see that, you know, we're, I mean, bang on the C4 to start with, but then we're quite a lot flat of the E4, and, you know, again, almost between notes on the G sharp 3 and the A3. But this is the point, that it just is what it is. And you don't really notice this when you're listening to it. It's just got a particular sound to it. And when we're talking about Colin's voice, which, you know, we have done in that previous analysis video, Colin, he has this kind of light, airy sound to his voice in the verse here, and is covering a lot of pitch.
Well, no one told me about
Up to that A4, which is, you know, top end of the male tenor range, but you can hear that we've got this so there's quite a lot of air in that sound. Let's let it play on.
Many people cried, but it's too late to say you're sorry.
There's even still a bit there, but it's too late to say you're sorry. You know, there's still a little bit of that breathy sound in there, but I don't think quite as much as the A4 that we had.
How would I know? Why should I care? Please don't bother trying.
And just talking from a range perspective here, you know, the A sharp 3 is here, and, you know, if you're the A3, we know that we've had an octave above that, so that's what I mean. We've got over an octave's worth of range going on. We're down to the E3, you know, down here, so plenty of range going on in this song if you're going to want to try and sing it yourself.
And to find her, she's not there. Well, let me tell you about the way she looked, the way she had hair, the color of her hair. Her voice was soft and cool, her eyes were clear and bright.
So this is interesting because we've started out the chorus with this increase, you know, applying a little bit more to the voice, leaning into the sound.
She's not there. Well, let me tell you about.
Just at the beginning there, we're going, well, let me, you know, it's more of, I mean, it's not kind of full chest voice sound, but there's more of that element to it. And when we have, he's then now going into more of a head voicey sound after that initial impact.
The way she looked, the way she had hair, the color of her hair.
Color of her hair. So he's kind of keeping it there.
Her voice was soft and cool.
Her voice was soft and cool.
Her eyes were clear and bright, but she's not there.
There. And a little bit more connected head voice right at the end rather than a little bit breathy before. But again, we're hearing this in real detail, which is great.
Well, no one told me about her. What could I do?
And still keeping it tonally consistent at the bottom there, because it'd be so easy to.
No one told me about her.
It'd be so easy to go ha and oversing that rather than ha and keep that airiness in there. So, I mean, it's great because Colin has that tonal consistency where he applies this lighter sound to his lower range, which of course being lower in your range, it means that you can really lean into it if you want to, because you know that there'll be a lot of tone that he could get down there, but intentionally keeping it light to make then the chorus relevant, to keep that voice consistent the whole way through. When you went back to this time when it was recorded in the studio, in sometimes just a take or a few takes of just the band performing, you got a unique version of that song because the vocal was just what the vocal was. Whereas when you pitch correct vocals, every vocal is now the same. You don't get the uniqueness of one performance to the next. Even if that performance happened to be in the studio and was recorded and then released, you then went to see them live and you got another distinct version of it, pitch-wise with the vocal and different expression, all that kind of stuff. But all of that now gets ironed out so that every performance, even live performances, now sound the same as the recording, which sounds the same as live performances, and it sounds the same as every other song by every other artist because they're all having the same effect applied to their voice. The whole landscape has changed. But this is what I love to see, this kind of thing, just being really in between notes, because it's just going to make it unique. And it's not something that you think, oh, well, this song, it obviously didn't do very well because there are lots of flat notes in it. It had absolutely no bearing on it whatsoever because it's about the feel and the emotion of the performance, obviously the melody as well, being catchy. Let's get back into it.
But it's too late to say you're sorry. How would I know? Why should I care? Please don't bother trying.
And just to pick up on that point of pitch accuracy, we have these sections where melodically we are a lot more accurate and we're on these lines. So this is the point that because overall, you know, Colin is hitting the notes accurately, now and again when he is a bit flat, it doesn't matter because you take in the overall performance. You're not listening to the whole performance and then singling out one flat note and going, oh right, well the whole performance is rubbish because there was one note that was slightly off back then.
Her voice was soft and cool, her eyes were clear and bright, but she's not there.
And there we have it. And I mean, it's only now that I notice how actually the lead vocal and the harmony, when you're really analysing it from a pitch perspective, it isn't that accurate at all, but it gives it its personality. Let's listen to that again.
Clear and bright, but she's not there.
Yeah, so both of those were flat, and we can actually see here at the top that we're kind of halfway between the notes, but a little bit closer to the A4, which is the destination that we should be at. But both of the vocals are flat, which means it works. Because if one was directly on the note, really accurate, and the other one was flat, it would stick out because those intervals would be totally off. But both of the voices are almost perfectly at the same level of, you know, being, for example, you know, 20 cents flat. So it means that you can tell it's flat, but because they are universally flat, you just accept it. It still sounds just like, it sounds like a feeling because of being flat. It doesn't sound like, oh, you know, I can't listen to this song anymore because the harmony was flat with the lead vocal. This is the point, just it gives it such unique character. But we've got everything in this. We've got harmony vocals, we've got great instrumental ability as well.
But it's too late to say you're sorry.
So, I mean, that kind of thing. It's not the kind of thing you hear from somebody who's just started to learn to play. So, yeah, I mean, the little pieces that Rod is putting in here, I mean, it's just great because during the verses, you know, during the chorus, it's subtlety, it's kind of giving that bounce, it's being in the background. But then as soon as we have any kind of section, you know, taking it back again, you get the contrast of the simplicity of bass and keys just playing this game with each other from that, you know, that feel perspective. Rod isn't trying to play, you know, a solo in the verse in the background because he's trying to show, oh, look what I can do. That's the point of having a solo section, is that's where the soloist shows what they can do, and ideally pairs it with melody and makes it relevant to the song rather than just showing you, oh, look at these techniques that I've learned and now I'm going to use this as an excuse to show you techniques, rather than a way to express melody with technique. So yeah, but anyway, yeah, great song to have a look at, and thank you guys for requesting a look at the original, considering that analysis that we've done previously on the zombies. And keep those suggestions and requests coming in the comment section below. Let me know what you guys think, and if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys at the next one. Rock!